Hey guys, and welcome to Friday Morning Inspo, my fun little side project of Love You Even More. So every Friday, I do a little inspirational tidbit, a little mini podcast, if you will. And I don't know how this one's going to go, but let's see. So I'm having an interesting moment. I'm in the town I was born in, which I don't come to very often because it's very, very far away. And even though it's in the state that I live in, it's a really long drive. But it's beautiful and beachy and actually quite serene. And I haven't spent any time here since I was too young to really remember much, just sort of the feeling. And I'm getting little flashbacks looking at, architecture and the ocean and even golf courses to be like, oh my gosh, this is bringing back some very young, very old memories. And I think it's really fascinating when we go back to where we started and just to see like what it feels like now. And some of us haven't even left like the town we were born in. And it's funny because even though I did leave and I don't remember a whole lot of being here, I definitely remember a little tiny bit, and I definitely remember the feeling. And it's interesting how I can see how it shaped me into what I like, so it's a beach town, I'll just say that. And it's not very big, and it's really pretty. And I love beaches. When people ask, like, where do you want to go vacation? I'm always like, the beach, somewhere with clear water, white sands, an island. Just put me at the beach and I'm happy. Not to say that I don't like other places in the world, but I really prefer being at the beach. And that makes a lot of sense, right? Those were my very first memories and my, very first years is living truly on the beach. And so when, you don't really live by the beach after that, although the beach was like in driving distance after we left here, it was more of a trek. And this isn't about the beach, but you know what I mean? It's like you start to kind of see like how these very first things really formed you into the person you are and what your likes and dislikes are. There's a whole lot of, Mexican culture here and Spanish culture, Spanish architecture. It's some of my favorite stuff, like food and architecture, and it just all feels like home, right? And, when we move away from our hometown and we go to another place and, set down roots, and it becomes, even more so of our hometown, it's a different kind of vibe. So I've lived in West Hollywood for most of my life as a person. I moved there when I was an adult, but it was early adulthood. And so I've lived there more of my life than I have anywhere else. So on all accounts and purposes, I should say that West Hollywood is my hometown. And sometimes I do, but really, when I think about what is your actual hometown, what really made you who you are, I would certainly say West Hollywood had a very strong influence. But I'd also say a couple of other places. And now that I'm back here in my actual birthplace, I would say my birthplace has quite a bit of influence on me. And there's also a sort of calming, happy feeling that I feel when I'm here, like, oh, I am home. Like I feel really like I am home. And I'm starting to think like, was I looking up at the trees and the sky as a baby? And that's what's soothing me, because I am kind of obsessed with looking out my French doors right now in this hotel that I'm at. And it just feels so familiar, just so normal and natural. And I want to ask, I want to be curious for you guys, like, is that something you've experienced when you go home to your hometown and you look around? What are the feelings that come up for you? Is it peace? Is it relief? Is it angst? Is it, oh, I hate this place? A lot of people don't like where they're from, and they try really hard to get away from it, which poses the question, what are you running away from exactly? Which I don't want to dive too deep into. But, what is it about that place, especially our hometowns, especially if we really did grow up there? There's a lot of stuff that comes with growing up in a hometown. And usually it's not always the city, although, hey, it could be. It could definitely be the city. You could have grown up in a really rough town, and yeah, you could absolutely blame the city, the culture, all of it. But, if you didn't, if you grew up in pretty normal kind of situation, but you're just I never want to go back, a really great question to ask is, why? Why don't I really want to go back? And then look at the first answer and then dig a little deeper and then see what feelings you're feeling. And then, oh gosh, my friend John and I were just doing this the other night. We're such nerds. He's like, wait, let me get my feeling wheel out. Let me figure out exactly what feelings I'm having, which is such a great idea. And I don't know why I don't use the feeling wheel more, especially with clients. But if you don't know what a feeling wheel is a wheel that has your primary emotions, and then it starts splintering off into secondary and then, third emotions, really, really obscure, not super obscure, but it gets down to the nitty gritty of how are you actually feeling? Because someone could be I'm sad. Okay, well, that could be grief. That could be trauma. That could be, all kinds of different actual subsidies. Is that the right word? Of feelings. Subcategories, how about that, of feelings. And once you actually find the feeling or feelings, it can make you feel so much more at peace because you understand so much clearer what you're feeling, instead of feeling well, I know I'm upset about something, but I'm just not sure exactly what version of upset I am. Because that's true. Sometimes we just don't know. And so when you think about your hometown and you think about what's coming up for you, it could be really good feelings too. It could just be happy and calm. It could be excitement. Every time I come here, I feel so great. It could, it's a really interesting thing to try, is to pull up. I'm going to put a link to a feeling wheel in the show notes so that you guys can go download one, or at least look at one and just be oh, cool. And it's pretty self-explanatory. You'll know what to do. You just look at your primary emotion and then you splinter off. But look at it and see how you feel the next time you go home. And again, even if it's you go home all the time because maybe you still live there, or you visit your parents all the time, or you work there, but you live someplace else, even just another town over. But there are pieces of ourselves that live in different places. And I think finding those pieces of you that are, I'm sorry, I'm such a nerd. I'm totally thinking of that Ashley Simpson song, Pieces of You. All the pieces of me. Oh, is it me? Anyway, you get it. Pieces of you, pieces of us. Finding our pieces and what that piece is that lives in that location is really interesting. And when you visit that location, to kind of further investigate, what is that part of you saying, and what does that part of you need to know? Even now, it can still help you. I mean, I guess the very, very youngest part of me, which is very important, right? It's the root of our person. It's what's, forming us to become the person we're going to be. I mean, she feels pretty damn happy over here. I'm not going to lie. I'm happy to, feel her again. So me and my inner child are going to have a fantastic weekend, I think. I will say this. I definitely had some, older core memories kind of come up. And also just, thinking of, scenarios that may have happened, or things with my parents, because again, I was just a baby and into toddlerhood. So, it's a really interesting thing to try to see how you feel when you go to your hometown. What part of you is coming up? What age are you? What does that part of you want to say and share? And get to know that part a little bit more, because they may have something they really want to tell you that really helps you now, today, in this time. And I have no doubt my very youngest self has a lot to say this weekend. So that's it. We're keeping it short and sweet. It's an inspo moment to go feel some feelings. I know, so much fun, right? And think about your origin story, just like a superhero. All right, guys, take care of yourselves, and I will see you next week.